It's VEDA Day 19, let's talk about cognitive bias. This topic stems from something I talked about just a few days ago, judgment. If you've already forgotten about that, you should go back and check that out. Go on, I'm waiting. You done with that? Good. So there's this guy, Daniel Kahneman, whose books and talks you can check out. So Kahneman and Tversky introduced this idea of biases way back in 1972, actually. That's not how you pronounce his name, by the way. I just kept saying it until something sounded kind of right. So what is a cognitive bias? The technical definition describes it as a pattern of deviation in judgment that occurs in particular situations. That's definitely a mouthful, but you're probably going, what? It's usually simplified down to being called irrationality. You know, that thing where people hate something just because it is? You know, like, you're frightened of something just because it has 8 legs and it crawls. So we get that cognitive bias happens more than once and affects the way we perceive the world around us, right? I thought I explained that pretty clearly. So when we encounter something we're biased against or toward, like say, a negativity bias, we are then more likely to pay more attention to negative thoughts and negative aspects of things than we are to pay attention to positive ones. But we do more than just notice this one negative thing. We also go out of our way to find more bad things to confirm our irrationality. So we start taking on these new bias just to help our original bias have more of a foothold. So to help us understand better, we need to understand that there are different groups of bias. Some biases reflect our motivation and others mess with our decision making. But where does all this bias come from? Attribute substitution! Attribute substitution is something that happens in our brain when we have to assess something really super complex. And because deep down inside we're all lazy, our brain tries to substitute these hard judgment calls with easy ones. Don't worry though, everyone does it. It's something we don't have control over. It happens right down inside the intuitive judgment system. We're really not aware of what happens in that system, in our conscious minds. But how does attribute substitution lead to cognitive bias, you ask? Well, our brains might be lazy, but they're pretty clever. When your brain substitutes an attribute once, it's pretty much just gonna do it over and over again. I mean, why recompute what we already know? You remember our friend Kahneman? Well, he had this to say on the topic. People are not accustomed to thinking hard, and often content to trust a plausible judgment that comes to mind. So maybe next time you make a judgment about something, think about the process that happened to get it there. Or to put it in technical terms, debug what your brain comes up with. As someone told me not long ago, it's what we do with our judgments that is the key. Thanks again, everybody. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you for another day of VEDA tomorrow.